Okay guys, so this is a continuation from my last brew day, which was went into these 2 cubes. I've just put the beer that was in this fermenter onto tap, so it's on keg now. And this was Cross Maloof number 4 yeast that was in here. So I'm going to pitch the dark beer straight onto this yeast cake, and I've found a US Pale Ale, it's quite old. It's from 2018, but it's been in the fridge, so I'm hoping this will work for the pale one. Now this fermenter is going to be easy because it's a wide lid. The other fermenter is going to be a bit tricky, and I might end up making a bit of a mess, but hopefully not too much. So let's do it. You can get these sieves from IKEA. They're a couple of quid. Really handy, and also handy if you do brew in a bag, because you can put the bag in here to sparge. Also, if you see how indented this is, that's a good sign. If it's because it's cooled down in here, which means the air will have shrunk. If it's bulging, that could mean that you've got infection, because it could be a fermentation that started spontaneously. Okay, so that's caught most of the hops. Looks like about 23 litres, or maybe even a bit more. So now all I need to do is empty this, put the lid on this, get it in the fermentation fridge, and then get the other fermenter ready. And for this one, I reckon I will start seeing activity on the airlock within about 2 hours, because it's literally just finished fermenting. It was doing a diacetyl rest, and so it was at 22 degrees Celsius, still at healthy yeast temperatures, no cold crash, nothing like that. So I'll get this in the fridge, and we'll get the next one. Okay, so there is a potential for mess on this one, so I'm going to move it outside the garage. That held the sieve in place. Okay, so that's the second one done. I did spill a bit. I probably lost about 1 litre, but it actually seemed a pretty decent pour, to be honest. I didn't pour all the hops out into this one as well, just because it blocks the sieve, so it would have gone over the edges. I'll just let that dry a little bit, give it a wipe down, get that in the fermenter, in the fermentation fridge. So I said 2 hours, but I've literally just finished cleaning the 2 cubes, and this thing's already good times. Okay, so both of the beers have now fermented out. We've got one down to 10:05 and one at 10:07. I'm going to do the same again, Chinook and Columbus. And Chinook is the one which is pine-like with a spicy bouquet, robust flavors of grapefruit. That's going in the dark one, and the Columbus is going in the other one. So I'm going to chuck them in. Okay, the hops are in. What I've decided to do is I've set the temperature to 12 degrees. It's actually 21.3 at the moment. So I've set this to 12, and I'll leave that now until tomorrow evening. So it'll get a full 24 hours above, or at 12 degrees or above. And then I will set it to 1 degree Celsius tomorrow evening, around the same time as today. Leave it for the whole of Thursday, and then Friday I'll keg the beers. So perhaps on Saturday I can finish this and get it out to you. Hey guys, welcome back to the final part of this little mini series. We've gone through the process of brewing a single batch of beer, put it into cubes with some additions. We've made 2 totally different beers. I will warn you, I've only just kegged these beers, and I prefer to undercarb my beers and allow them to carb a little bit naturally up till the final carbing point. So these will be undercarbed. We're not really looking here at the quality of the beer. We're more looking at how different we can make the beers, because I did rush it a little bit. I didn't have caramel malts, which I would have preferred to use over chocolate malt, you know, to make an IPA out of with the caramel malts rather than the using the chocolate malt, which is a very strong, and it's got quite a flavour to it. But all that being said, let's pour the beers and let's decide. So first, let's have a look at the colour. So the easiest thing to show as a discrepancy between the two beers is the colour. So that's the difference that 100 grams of chocolate malt makes, but you could have done 300 grams of caramel malt or crystal 40, something like that, and got a similar colour. It's a really nice colour, this one, for an IPA. That's really, really lovely. And that, as a pale ale, I mean, it looks refreshing. Bear in mind, these have just been kegged, so they've got to take some time to clear, etc. Okay. So for this one, this was the pale ale, 6 days to ferment, and this was done with Columbus. So at 5.4%, it's a nice strength beer. If I smell it, there's a very, very strong, pungent hop aroma coming off it, and I'm really struggling to place it. It's I poured myself a sip of it after the first thing just to see the colour, and I've tasted it, and I just can't place the flavour. It's a fruity flavour, definitely fruity, but apart from that, it's very difficult to tell. So we'll taste it. So what I'll do is I'll just read what the hop list says about this hop, because you're not going to get much from the grain. This was literally just extra pale Marisota and carapils. So it says here, punchy hoppiness and a deep pensive aroma with understated citrus notes. Now the flavour that I'm tasting, I wouldn't put it down as a citrus flavour at all, but it's a fruity flavour. Maybe a bit more like a papaya, or some kind of one of those big type fruits. Let's say papaya. But it's a nice flavour, and once that has had its time to age, because that is literally 8 days old, that's going to be a very, very tasty beer. Okay. What I will say is on this one, I haven't checked the alpha acids on the two different hops, but on this one, the sort of bitterness is, it's slight. The beer's dry. It fermented down to 10.05, so it's a dry beer. Bitterness is slight. There's a malt sweetness, small malt sweetness. I think most of the sweetness is coming from the hops, but the bitterness fades really quickly. You really feel like you should be having another sip, which is quite a good recipe if you're trying to sell the stuff. Okay, so the other one, like I say, they're a bit undercarbed. There's not much of a head on that at all. The colour on that is really quite nice. It's a sort of burnt orange kind of flavour, colour, and it would have a white head. From what I can see there, that's white, so I'm happy with that. So this one I called the not so pale ale. This fermented down to 10.07, which is a 5.1%. So this had 80 to 100 grams of chocolate malt, cold steeped for around about 2 hours, which I then sieved, boiled for a few minutes, and chucked into the cube. So it was about 1 to 1.5 litres of wort that went in there, which is why I had a slight discrepancy in the levels before, because I knew it would even them out. I can go in for a smell. So this one is Chinook, and what this says here is a pine-like spicy bouquet with robust flavors of grapefruit. So I can't smell a lot of hops on this. They both had the same amount of hops in the cube and the same amount on the dry hop. So I did, I think it was 60 grams of each in the cube, 60 grams of each in the dry hop. I'll taste that. I can taste the chocolate malt in that. And something with these type of beers where you have a quite a harsh malt, like a chocolate malt, something that's really been processed to the nth degree, it takes a bit of time. It's still smooth, but you at the end you get a flavour of the sort of almost like a burnt toast kind of flavour. Let's have a look here. Can I taste the grapefruit in that? I think I can. Again, this is smooth. The bitterness isn't harsh, but it's stronger up front than this one. This is a much more mellow bitterness. This one's got a stronger upfront bitterness and it lingers a little bit more. That one is a lot more gentle. So if I look, I'll probably find that the two different hops have wildly different alpha acids. It's already tasting nice. Both of them are. What I need to do really is give them a couple of weeks to age. Perhaps fine them with gelatin, because they aren't overly. I can see my fingers through the dark one, but through this light one, just a shadow really. So basically what I was trying to prove in this video is that you can brew one batch of wort and you can make multiple different types of beer. So let's say you had 10 litre fermenters. You could do 4 different batches of beer. So you have your base malt and whatever malt you use for head retention in the boil. So you mash it and boil it. Anything else individually done on the hob, either cold steeped, then boiled, or steeped at steeping temperatures, 65 degrees, 66 degrees Celsius. You can also add adjuncts. So I could have made a New England IPA and a stout if I wanted to by boiling up some lactose and adding the hops in the cube after the cube had dropped below 79 degrees Celsius. So what that does is it extracts less bitterness, but it keeps the rest. So there's a lot of different things you can do. So the reason I've done this is because I have a 50 litre brewing system, but there are now like 65, 70 litre all-in-one brewing systems that you can get. And what I'm thinking is that anyone getting into this hobby, get the biggest system that you can, because the cost differential between a 30 litre brewing system and a 50 litre brewing system is probably £50, maybe 80. But in the big scheme of things, I spent 4 hours doing a brew day because I did no chill, so I didn't have to cool it down and anything like that. I spent 4 hours from start to everything being cleaned up, and I brewed 2 kegs full of beer, which is 2 different beers. So if you've got a 60 litre brewing system, you can do 3 kegs full. And what you could also do is liquor back. So let's say you end up collecting 20 litres and 10 litres, and the 10 litres you add 3 litres of boiled cooled water when you put it in the fermenter, thereby dropping the ABV right down, bitterness, all of those things got dropped right down, and maybe having a table beer. So these are all great ideas, but I just wanted to show you guys. So there they are. 2 absolutely, I would never have thought that those 2 beers were brewed in the same batch, and that is the reason why I did these videos. So I hope you enjoyed these, guys, and if you like my videos, take the time to just pop down and subscribe and leave me a comment if there's anything you want me to do. I've got a couple of guys have already asked me to do some things, but I'm happy to add stuff to my list and get to it when I do. As homebrewers, we work to our own schedules, but engage. I'm happy to help, and I just want to produce content that people want to see. So it's been a good one, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.